Yo, good afternoon, everybody. How you doing? This is your coach Renz, and today we're going to talk about a spiritual question here concerning a statement that someone put on one of my videos that I did some time ago called "The 3 Questions That Began My Spiritual Journey Away from Organized Religion." Well, I wanted to respond to that statement that he made, and not in a negative way. Don't go ahead and think that this is a negative video. It's not even slightly. I actually thanked him for the inspiration of this talk that we're about to have. The thing about it is, in the video early on, I spoke about the fact that even though I walked away from organized religion, I am not an atheist and I believe in a divine creator. His statement was, there is no proof of a divine creator. There could be fairies in my garden, but I do not believe that there are any because there is no proof. I responded to him to say that there is a difference between proof and understanding. We utilize a lot of the laws in the universe that the divine creator have put forth without the proof of those laws, without the proof of scientific things that we know about. We've used gravity throughout history without the proof of gravity or the full understanding of gravity, but we understood it enough to utilize it. And in doing so, that does not necessarily prove a creator, but it proves an intelligent mind. And as finite individuals, as finite beings, we will never be able to fully understand the infinite mind or the infinite creation. You see, the Dogons, to go back and use something literal, the Dogons, they recognized thousands of years ago that the star Sirius, it has many names. It's called Sirius. It's called the star in the east. It's called the dog star. It's called the morning star. It's called the womb of Isis. It has many different names depending upon the culture and the time frame that you're speaking of it. But the same star that the Dogons studied with the naked eye, they recognized and tracked it for hundreds of years to recognize it had a wobble to it, right? And they hypothesized that wobble was being created by a smaller star. You see, they didn't understand all the science. They didn't have any proof of the smaller star, but they diagrammed, which happens to look like the double helix of the DNA. They diagrammed Sirius and Sirius B. So Sirius A and Sirius B is now the astronomical name of them, but they diagrammed this wobble. They diagrammed that there had to be another star, another entity, another body that was moving Sirius in such a way that it created this wobble. Now, in doing so, they had no proof, but they understood it. They recognized it. We recognize universal law. We recognize nature. We recognize the complexity of everything in nature, but how it works in a balance. And in doing so, in having that understanding, we can then utilize it ourselves. Our finite mind can utilize the aspects of it that we can handle, but the infinite mind, the infinite creation, is beyond our conception. I believe these kinds of things come about because what people want to look at is that it's purely either faith or it's fiction. It doesn't have to be faith nor fiction, right? Only thing it has to be is just truth of what it is, of what we are able to conceptualize right now. This is one reason why I study and follow the Hermetics, because the Hermetics are simply putting forth the universal laws that the creative mind, the infinite mind, put in place. That it is understanding that as above, so below. It is understanding that all is mental, that everything is a mental creation, and all creation begins with a thought process, and that thought has energy. And that energy vibrates, and depending on the vibrational pattern of that energy, it moves along the scale produced by the female and male energy, which then creates something and swings it to the rhythm of the pole. That is pretty much all your Hermetic laws wrapped into one to explain the creation of any one thing, any action, any energy, any movement, any matter plane thing, any thought plane thing. That's all that is. It is not so much to say that we will ever be able to prove a divine creator at this level. People will have their emotions. People will say, I feel. People will say, I know. And all of these knowings and feelings are based on how they feel. It's based on things that has happened in their life that they cannot explain. We can't claim any literature that is the proof, whether it is the Christian literature, the Islamic literature, the Jewish literature, the Buddhist literature, the Hindu literature. No literature can actually prove of the existence of an infinite being, a divine creator. Because one, almost all literature puts the infinite mind into the small box of the finite mind. It takes the infinite mind of the creator and puts it in a place where it exists on the same scale pretty much as man. All references and all experiences that a person has in any form of literature where they say that they physically walked with the creator, with God, so to speak. I mean, I say all, but not all. There's one example that just popped in my head that's not going to fulfill what I'm about to say. But most, 99%, are written by people who weren't there. Are written by someone who was writing this 70, 80, 100, 200, 1,000 years later, but is never written by the actual person. You see, the Exodus story is not written by anyone who were participating during the Exodus story. The Noah story is not written by Noah. The Adam and Eve story is not written by Adam and Eve. The Buddhist story of the sitting under the Bodhi tree is not written by Siddhartha. The Krishna never wrote his story himself. Someone else wrote the story. Anytime when Jacob wrestled with an angel, it's not written by Jacob. It's written by someone else. Muhammad's story is not written by Muhammad. So in all accounts, in almost all accounts, it is written by someone else. Now, the Egyptians and the Sumerians, they wrote that the people, the writers wrote that they physically were present to serve the Anunnaki or the Neteras. They wrote that they were there, that they served them. They didn't write that they worshiped them, but they served them. They lived amongst them. They were not worshipped. So they don't necessarily fit into the same category. But the fact of the matter is that I believe that there is a divine infinite mind. And it is only divine in this format. Not that it is divine in being all good. Not that it is divine that is evil. But it is divine in the fact that it just is. You see, we place the infinite mind of the Creator onto one paradigm to say that it is all good. But if the infinite creative mind created everything, then it created all the things that we call evil and bad or horrific as well. It created all those. So something cannot be all good, but yet create all evil at the same time. Only thing it can be is just is. Meaning that it placed everything here. Everything is in creation. Life and death are the same thing. The movement and the cessation of movement. It's neither good nor bad. It just is. When one thing transfers from one level of understanding or one type of life, it transforms into another type of life. We, in our finite mind, define things as good and bad, as good and evil. In time, when we think about time, the infinite mind just creates how the bodies move. The earth, the sun, the other planets, how they move about the sun, and how the sun moves about the galaxy, and how the galaxy moves about the universe. We conceptualize time in hours, minutes, seconds, months, years. But the universe of time is just is. It just is. The reason why I say there is a divine creator is because we do understand that nothing of order can come out of chaos. But yet, we have no proof of this. We just understand it. We understand that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It just is. But we have no proof of it. No one has any proof of seeing energy created or seeing energy destroyed. We just know it exists. And because we cannot prove either one, we just know it's something that we, in our finite mind, cannot do. We can talk about time travel. There's no proof of time travel. I know there are so many videos showing that these people and cameras and all this kind of stuff, but there is no hard line proof of time travel, right? But people believe that it exists. That people believe it exists. Now, if you take that to a higher realm of understanding, you recognize that time travel can exist because time doesn't exist, right? It is all how we perceive the universe. So we can only perceive a divine creation. We can only perceive creation in all its glory. We can only perceive the intricacies of it all. But what we cannot do is prove any of it. You're absolutely right. We cannot prove a divine creator. But we can utilize all the laws, all the natural laws, all the natural forces that the Creator put in place. All the things that suggest, hypothesize, that leads you more in the direction that a divine, infinite mind created all of this. That this didn't come from the nothingness. That this didn't happen by accident. That if the earth was 2 feet to the left or 2 feet to the right or 2 feet up or 2 feet down, that life on this planet wouldn't exist. We would all be dead, or we would have never existed actually. So although we can't prove, no one can prove a divine creator, hardcore 1%, here it is in the flesh of this third dimensional plane, no one can prove that, no. But what we can do is say that the law of cause and effect always work. When people claim something is a miracle, there is always a cause and there to that effect that they're experiencing. When somebody claims that, I went through something, I was down on my luck, but then I went through something and now I'm standing on top. If we truly break it down, that person worked with the law of rhythm, they work with the law of vibration, and they work with the law of polarity. They work with the law of mentalism because something clicked in their mind, and whether it was their belief, whether it was their belief that they deserve more, whether they got fatigued and got tired and said, I'm not going to take this life anymore the way it is, and they started vibrating at a different level. And as soon as they start thinking it and believing it, then they started acting differently. And as they act differently, different people come into your life. You attract the different people because they can feel your vibration. You start to vibe with a different tribe. And then you start moving along the scale. And then over time, or all of a sudden, you find yourself to the far right of where you were to the far left. Was it a miracle? Was it divine inspiration? Or were you just using the laws that was put in place? And it was your, if you want to call it faith, you want to call it belief, whatever you want to call it. What I call it is my knowing. My knowing of the universal laws allowed me to be able to move to the right. Allowed you to move to the right. As much as you say it was God, but God. As much as you can say that, is as much as I can say, I understand your but God. But what I saw as an observer is I saw that you decided that the way your health was unsatisfactory. I saw you eating better. I saw you denying the temptations. I saw you exercising more. I saw you having a positive attitude, and I saw the weight come off, and I saw you get off that medication. I saw those causal factors that move you to the effect that you have now. Now, you may say the inspiration was your faith, and that is fine. I have no problems with that. If that was the thing that you had to lean on, that you had to hold on to move you to the right, I'm not going to say anything, but as for me, I see your cause and I see the effect. I see the natural laws of the universe at work that allowed you to vibrate higher and move you along the scale to get you to that point of success. And I can see it in reverse. Show me a man or a woman who have achieved success, but let me see that their mental vibration is such that they don't feel deserving of it, or that they become envious of the people, they become egotistical, or they become vain, or anything like that. See that their mental vibration is decreasing, and you will see that they allow people to come into their lives that will take away their money, that will take away their fame, that will take away their relationships, that will take away all these things until they fall out of grace. They fall out of the spotlight. All of a sudden, you're Tiger Woods. Now you're Tiger Woods. All of a sudden, you know, you're it's not even gonna go there. All of a sudden, you're over here. And now you're over there, right? All of a sudden, you're Donald Trump, the guy that everybody thought from the books, and now you're President Trump, the guy that we see in reality because of your egotism. See, you move based on what happens with your thought process. Now you vibrate differently. You can reach the highest office in the land and then take the next year and take your credibility and completely stump on it. Some will say it's always been there. And maybe it has always been there. But sometimes when you rise, it allows the real you to come out, unfortunately. But I digress. This is not about that. This is about you understanding for your life, how to utilize the universal laws to change it. If you have to lean upon Buddha, if you have to lean upon Krishna, if you have to lean upon Allah, if you have to lean upon Jesus, if you have to lean upon Yahweh, if you have to lean upon Yah, if you have to, whatever you have to lean upon to get you to start using these universal laws that the infinite mind put in place. It doesn't matter, because here's the thing, I want to end it with this. Because some will say that, well, what is the difference between me saying what I'm saying and a Christian or a Muslim or Jew saying what they say? It sounds like the same thing. Because a Christian, Jew, Muslim, Hindu, whatever, will not say what I'm about to say. Regardless of how I express it. Whatever I do to move me along the scale, an atheist can do the same thing. An atheist can do the exact same thing. The same way I can use the universal laws to get into better health, an atheist can do it. I can use those laws to become wealthy, and an atheist can do the exact same thing. I can use those laws to find the love of my life and have a wonderful marriage. An atheist can do the same thing. I can use those laws to raise my children into very fine adults, and an atheist can do the same thing. That's the difference between studying the Hermetics, being a Hermetic alchemist. And even though I would give myself that title is really just so that people can understand the mindset. It is not so much as to say, this is my religion. But it is really an understanding of the universal laws that were put in place by what I believe to be the infinite mind of the Creator, the infinite mind of the All, that allows for anyone of any religion or non-religion. A Satanist can use it to move themselves up any polarity scale that they choose. It doesn't matter. What I do understand is that all of this is not an accident. All of this didn't happen through chaos. That all of this didn't happen because a big rock hit the earth and germinated and all that sort of thing. That there has to be an infinite creative mind behind it, simply because all things are in balance. All things fall within the natural law. So my brain has been racked. I've been thinking about that like for a while today, and it was interesting because I get into my deep thoughts and I have an enjoyable time just with myself thinking about it. So y'all have a great day. Remember to free yourself to be yourself, and join me on my Patreon, and remember, like, comment, and share. But free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable.